Hi, I'm Diane with SHOTBOX. I wanted to tell you a little bit about a few ways that I enjoy using the SHOTBOX. Let me tell you about this, these two recipes. This is a recipe box and a recipe folder that were my grandma's, and she kept all these recipes that were given her over the years in these boxes, and these were some of the family favorite recipes. And recently my father celebrated his 80th birthday, and one of his favorite treats that his mom would make is carrot pudding. And I remember my grandmother making it, and so to surprise him I wanted to find the recipe and make it. We were having a big family party, inviting his siblings and everything, and I thought, I've never made this before, but it will be great to try it out, because then I can ask everybody, is this what Grandma's recipe tasted like, or what do I need to do different to make it better? So I went ahead and I looked through, I found her recipe, and we made that, and it was so wonderful. And what's great about these old recipes is it's all written in their hand, and so an idea that you can do, and then what we've done with recipes here is, once I made that carrot pudding, I took her recipe, put it in here, and then put the item so that I could have the recipe and what it looks like. And that way we all like to see what we want to make. We first eat with our eyes, and so it makes it nice to have that. For another, what we have here is some Japanese curry. My husband served a mission to Japan, and our family loves the Japanese curry. But if you ask him what the recipe is, he would say a little bit of potatoes and carrots and onions. And we thought, well, that's great and all, but we won't know how to make it if he's not around. And so one time when he was making it, I had him chop up what he did, but I was following him. I was, as soon as he would say, well, this is enough, I would count how many carrots he did, or I'd measure it out, and I made a recipe for it. And then when it was done, we put it in here, and again, with the SHOTBOX, just took photos of it to go along, and then you can compile your family favorite recipes. And along with that, the story, like what I just told of my grandma. I remember with her carrot pudding, she used like an old tin can as a double broiler. So when she'd pour it out, it kind of had that look to it. So all these wonderful memories should be saved with that. So that's some ideas with some family favorite recipes. I wanted to share some other stories of things. My grandpa loved family history, and he wrote a book called Before and After Mount Pisgah, and it has a lot of family history. And inside this book, he died actually on my 11th birthday. And but before he died, and I was really young, and he's like, you won't appreciate this book now, but someday you will. And so probably about a year before I died, he wrote a copy and says to Diane from her grandfather, and it means a lot to me that I have this. And so I can put this in and take pictures of that as well, so that it can be part of my history. Along with that, it's important, I was able to get his typewriter that he and my grandma would type up what my grandpa wrote in this book. So this book was typed, ready for print, here on this typewriter, and this is the typewriter that I learned how to type on, and it's the old one that you push and everything, and so I really had to pound those keys, and it was great. And these stories are treasures, but if I don't put these somewhere and have a record of it, then when I pass, my children may not appreciate why I have this old typewriter. Oh, that's a cool old typewriter. But it means something when it's a family heirloom.
Wait, you have in the backdrop there, you have little shoes that are also a little story for you.
So these, and actually, I can show these as well. These were my shoes when I was a baby, and my mom kept those for me. And this was the little outfit that I came home from the hospital in, and she had kept that as well. And growing up, my nickname was Dolly because I loved dolls. And unfortunately, I don't have any of the dolls. I'm sure they were thrashed by the time I got done playing with them. But I have my little Dolly blanket from all of these years that I've been able to keep as well. That means a lot. And again, you can put things like that in the SHOTBOX and make a display and tell these stories. And it's a great way. One of my children may want these items, but maybe the others want to know as well what these are or have a record. And so that way you can duplicate, so it's not just one person getting these things, but everybody can share in the memories of it all. I wanted to share another little story. If you can see this horseshoe, you might think, oh, that's kind of a cool old horseshoe. But if again, if the stories aren't documented, what it is, it won't mean anything in the future. So let me tell you a little bit about this horseshoe. I grew up on a farm, a vegetable farm. My father was, I believe, the 5th generation of farmers to farm the land. And a few months back, my son, he had just had his first year anniversary of his marriage. So he's 22 and just celebrated their anniversary. And in the middle of the night, he went into cardiac arrest. And his dear, sweet little bride called 911. They had to come and resuscitate him. And those wonderful first responders and saved his life and rushed him to the hospital. They got, after shocking him and all of that, they got his heart going, but they got him to the hospital, and he was in a coma in the ICU, and it was very bleak, and they weren't sure that he was even going to make it. And it was, as you can imagine, a lot of emotions go through a mother's and family's heart at that time. And as it was during harvest season, and so and it's COVID, and so only one person could be at the hospital, and so my husband stayed with him at the hospital that day, and I went to help on their family farm to pick up potatoes. So they were digging up the potatoes, and I went to help. And my heart was very heavy as I was thinking about my son, and we had been praying, but I felt a lot of peace. And I knew that I felt that angels were with him. And as I was going along and picking up potatoes, I bent down and I picked up this horseshoe out of the ground. Now this ground has been tilled every year for years and years and years, and yet there this horseshoe was right there as I was picking it up, and I had a very strong spiritual impression that the ancestors that had used those horses in those fields were with my son as I was there in the fields, working that land that they loved. And the generation were very tied together, and they're aware of us, and we need to link our hearts to them as well. And it was just kind of a spiritual sign to me that he was being looked over, and our prayers were answered, and he fully recovered. It was a true miracle, and we're grateful for that. And one day, this horseshoe will go to him as a remembrance of the angels really do watch over us, and I want that to go to him. But again, that won't mean anything if we don't preserve these memories. So I encourage you to use the SHOTBOX and other means, but the SHOTBOX is a great way to digitize quickly, not only documents and pictures, but also artifacts that you couldn't put in a scanner, and save these precious memories so that posterity can have it. It will be important. It will be important to his children one day as well. And so that's just a few ways that maybe you could consider, some thoughts about what you can use the SHOTBOX for, but I just really encourage you, do your family history, and this is family history.
I am doing good. I'm right here.
This is my wonderful son.
Wait,
I'm so lucky.
Your head's cut off.
Oh, my head's cut off. Hello.
He's a little tall.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank